the triple.
Yeah.
Put the difficulty of that into context.
I mean, it's pretty hard. I don't know. I mean, you know, time will tell. Maybe in 5 years it'll be easy. Maybe people will do that all the time.
I mean, how would you, you've been using sports analogies. So what would you like compare it to putting into context for somebody who knows very little about the sport?
I mean, yeah, so doing the triple in Yosemite would be comparable to some kind of like super ultra marathon or something. Like, I can't really think of other sporting events because, you know, it's like doing a bunch of really hard things back to back, all very quickly. You know, so I mean, other sports is like you just play the game and you're done.
Right.
But like, you know, so it'd be like doing Ironman maybe, but way more than that because, you know, a lot of people do Ironmans.
What was involved with doing it?
The triple?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the triple is just the 3 biggest walls in Yosemite in a day. But I mean, if you just add up the time that like average parties spend on each route, I mean, like climbing El Cap, which is just one of the 3 walls, people typically spend, you know, 2 to 5 days. And then climbing Half Dome, people typically spend, you know, I mean, most people spend 1 or 2 days on the face, but a lot of people camp at the base and then spend a day walking down. You know, it's like people spend 2 or 3 days, like total experience. And then climbing the 3rd wall, people, same thing. People spend 2 or 3 days, or like 2 days on the wall plus a day of hiking to get on and off. So I mean, it's like a week and a half's worth of climbing. And you know, for an average party, you'd have to rest for a day in between each of those, or you'd rest for 2 or 3 days because you'd be pooped. You know, and so, yeah, it's like a week or 2 worth of climbing, and you're doing that all in like an 18-hour push.
How do you do it in 18 hours?
It's like a byproduct of style, like what I'm saying. Just, I mean, so I did it, I think solo in 1850, I think. And that's because, you know, I was basically climbing without a rope and just moving pretty quickly, and I knew the routes really well, and I was like really, you know, I was dialed on that whole thing.
The free solo of Half Dome, what went on when you got to Thank God Ledge?
Just like 60, 70 feet above Thank God Ledge is like this really smooth, hard slab. It's just like blank, and that's kind of characteristic of granite, is that there aren't like things to hold on to. You just have to like paste your feet against the wall and like trust the rubber on your shoes to stick. And you just have to like crawl up it like a gecko or something kind of.
And is that where you noticed a bolt sticking out of the wall?
Yeah, so normally people climb that section of wall, and it's like a blank, smooth wall. Normally people clip into the bolts and then like stand on the bolts and clip the next one and go up the bolts like a ladder. And so I was climbing, and then I got to a certain move that felt insecure for me, and I had to trust a foothold that I didn't want to stand on, and I got all scared. And it's like weird there too, because you're right below the summit, so I could like hear all these tourists on the summit, and it was like this whole crazy experience where, you know, I'm like super scared and like all, you know, I've been free soloing for 2.5 hours and was like getting physically or like mentally exhausted, just like tired of being up on this wall. And then get to a certain point, get all scared, I can like hear people laughing above me and stuff, and you're like, this is so weird. Like I just want to be done, you know, I'm so close, and yet, and then, yeah, and there was a bolt like right in front of me, so I really wanted to grab the bolt and like cheat. But then I was also like, oh, I don't want to invalidate the whole, you know, 2,000 feet of climbing I did to get here. And so, I mean, ultimately I just like sorted through it, and I like stepped on the foot, and I did it.
So you get to the top, and what are tourists saying to you when you get up
So
there?
it's weird because normally when you get to the top of Half Dome, when you have a rope and a partner, you get like mobbed with tourists who are like, oh my God, you climbed the face, that's so crazy, so extreme. But like when I soloed it, I got to the top and I was like shirtless and all like jacked, you know, just like, oh my God, you know, because I just had this crazy experience right below the top.
Right.
But I had like nothing on me. I had no backpack and like no climbing stuff. And, you know, I was just like shoes, harness, chalk, or no harness, just shoes and chalk bag, you know. And I like wanted somebody to be like, that's rad, you know, because I just had like one of the biggest experiences of my life, and like nobody noticed at all, you know, because I just looked like some hiker hanging out.
Right.
And I was just like, that's so weird. And then I hiked down barefoot, and then on the walk down, because you can't hike in climbing shoes, it's too tight. And then on the hike, everyone's like, oh my God, you're barefoot, that's so extreme. And you're like, you're just like, what a weird day, you know, like it's so crazy.
The most satisfying experience from your career to date would be what?
I mean, like the biggest climb, you know, doing the Feats Traverse in Patagonia with Tommy Caldwell was probably like the most significant climb of my life. But the thing is, like, as soon as we were finished, I got snowblind throughout the experience. So like the next 5 days or whatever, when we were done, like I couldn't see really, and like my eyes really hurt. So you're like, well, it's an amazing climb, but like it took a certain toll. Whereas like a casual day of sport climbing with my friends is like super fun, super nice. It's good to be out like with all my friends, but it doesn't have that like deep life satisfaction of like, wow, we did this amazing thing that I'm really proud of. I don't know. I just like going climbing all the time.
For more clips from this interview, visit GrahamBensinger.com.